Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who seem the most confident are not always the smartest, not always the most talented, not even the most experienced. But somehow, they're the ones starting businesses, investing money, launching YouTube channels, changing careers, and building wealth, while most people are still stuck thinking, so what do they know that others do? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Confidence is not the reason people succeed. Confidence is the result of success. And if you're waiting to feel confident before you start, you might be delaying your entire life. Most people believe this. Once I feel confident, I'll take action. But that's completely backwards. Confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Think about learning how to ride a bike. You don't become confident and then ride. You ride first. You fall. You wobble. You fail. You look silly. And then, confidence appears. Not before. After. Why most people stay financially stuck. This same mistake destroys people financially. Someone wants to start investing, so they do everything except actually invest. They watch videos. They read books. They analyze markets. They wait for the perfect time. But that perfect time never comes. Months turn into years, and they still haven't started. Meanwhile, someone else with less knowledge just begins. They make mistakes. They lose a little money. They learn fast. They adjust. And a few years later, they own assets. They have experience. They have confidence. Not because they knew more, but because they did more. The real truth about success. Here's what wealthy people understand that most don't. Nobody knows exactly what they're doing at the beginning. Not investors. Not entrepreneurs. Not business owners. Everyone starts with uncertainty. The difference is, they don't wait for certainty. They move without it. Because life doesn't reward perfect understanding. Life rewards participation. There is always risk. There is always doubt. There is always a reason to wait. And there will always be someone telling you why it won't work. But successful people don't wait for that noise to disappear. They move anyway. Action creates information. There's a powerful idea that changes everything. Action creates information. Most people think, I need more information before I act. But in reality, you only discover what works after you start. You don't learn business by studying it forever. You learn by doing it. You don't learn investing by watching others. You learn by investing. Experience creates clarity, not the other way around. Why overthinking is keeping you poor. Overthinking feels safe. It feels smart. It feels responsible. But in reality, it's just delayed fear. Because every day you prepare, someone else is taking action. And slowly that gap grows. Not overnight, but over years. And one day you realize, I wasn't lacking intelligence, I was stuck in hesitation. What wealthy people actually do differently. Wealthy people are not fearless. They are not always confident. They are simply comfortable with uncertainty. They understand something most people don't. There is no perfect decision. No perfect timing. No perfect market. No perfect plan. Only action taken under imperfect conditions. So instead of waiting, they move. They adjust. They learn. They repeat. And that cycle is what builds results over time. Confidence is built, not found. Real confidence is not something you think your way into. It's something you build through evidence. Evidence that you tried something before. You made mistakes and survived. You solved problems you didn't know how to solve. You kept going even when it was uncomfortable. Every action adds proof. And that proof slowly becomes confidence. Not overnight, but step by step. The moment everything changes. There comes a moment in life when you realize something powerful. You are not stuck because you lack ability. You are stuck because you haven't started. And the longer you wait, the heavier starting feels. Not because you became weaker, but because hesitation quietly grows into fear. What once felt simple starts feeling risky. What once felt possible starts feeling distant. And all of it comes from delay. The shift from thinking to building. Most people live in preparation mode. They consume information. They plan. They overthink. They imagine outcomes. But they never enter execution mode. Meanwhile, a completely different group of people wins quietly. Not because they are smarter, but because they are building while others are thinking. They don't wait to feel ready. They get ready by doing. Why one day never works. A dangerous mindset is, one day I'll start. One day becomes, next week, next month, next year, and eventually, never, because one day removes urgency. And without urgency, action disappears. The truth is simple. There is no perfect day coming. There is only today repeating itself. The real cost of waiting. Most people think the risk is failing. But the real risk is time. Because while you wait, opportunities pass. Confidence stays low. Skills don't develop. Experience doesn't build. And slowly, life moves forward without you moving with it. Not because you were incapable, but because you stayed inactive. Action creates momentum. The first step is always the hardest. But here's what most people don't realize. The second step is easier than the first. The third is easier than the second. And soon, you're moving in a direction that once felt impossible. Not because fear disappeared, but because momentum took over. You don't need perfect confidence to start. You need enough courage to begin. That's it. Because confidence is not the requirement. It is the reward. So if there is something you've been delaying, a business, an investment, a skill, a goal, the question is not, am I ready? The real question is, what am I losing by not starting? Because years from now, you won't remember the moment you failed. You'll remember the moment you didn't try. You don't become confident and then act. You act and then become confident. That is how wealth is built. That is how success is built. That is how everything changes.